Righto, big fella. What was your big question?
Yeah, the big question for me, did Charlie feel the finals pressure? And we all know Charlie, not Charlie Cameron, it's Charlie Curnow. We're talking about the Coleman medalist in the last 2 years. I'll just show a few of his highlights. Didn't have a huge amount of them, but he had some good opponents, don't question about that. Tom McCartan, an elite defender in the competition, the first final. Stephen May the following week. And the query is, I guess, Gaz, he wasn't on the end of many balls, especially inside 50. Now, he went looking for it, so not a huge amount of highlights. Well, and people have thrown up, some things about why, Gaz. So they asked the question about why wasn't he on the end of enough balls?
Yeah. So the thing is, they'll talk about, and this is an interesting one that's arrived here, inside 50 targets.
Yeah.
Righto? So he's targeted once. In the... I don't know where the game's going to, but you as a big key forward, when you had a poor game, I doubt whether you've ever wanted... I'm not saying Charlie was using this as an excuse, by the way. Yeah. We don't need to make an excuse for Charlie on the back of inside 50 targets, because never have I heard a forward come off, a big forward, and go, look, I had a bad day because he didn't target me. Yeah. You've got to make yourself an inside 50 target. So there's the question, is why? Don't make the excuse about, oh, they didn't target him. He has to become the target.
Absolutely, you're spot on. And I guess that's the thing as a key position forward. You ask yourself that question in-game all the time, OK?
Constantly.
How many contests have I been in? You know, if I haven't been in enough contests, why? Now, I'll just put this on the record, because a few people said, oh, you know, he gave up and all. I look at Charlie Curnow as a genuine competitor, no matter the circumstance. I think he's proven that. But you can get yourself into situations in big finals, in big games, where you get a bit desperate. Now, I believe that his GPS would be as high as any player, maybe second only to Sam Walsh during the final series. So I think there can be a case of running yourself out of position, because contest is two things, OK? Am I working hard enough? And what's my position like in relation to the ball at that time? So let's have a look at this. Work rate, I've got no problems, to the point where he overworks. Bucks, I just want to have a look at this positioning now. Like, he's running himself out of bad spots.
Well, that's like a midfielder looking for an uncontested possession versus going to the position that you need to do to compete. Because you know that if he goes long there, he's going to be the one in a contest, not in an uncontested situation.
Why are you drawing it there? You know, so we're going there. OK, you're going to draw it there. Wow, you've got to make an impact. You've got to be at least in the contest. Not a great spot to draw it in case it turns over and goes the other way. Bucks, I'd like to ask you a question. You've got to lead into the vision of the player. Now, this is a miracle kick. George Hewitt's not capable of kicking this over his shoulder 50 metres. You've got to go to where the ball's most likely to go and sense the pressure of final and have the awareness of the pressure that your teammates are under upfield.
Well, I haven't played in that role as much as you boys
that's
have.
A 65-metre kick.
You need to adjust the way that you position based on the game that's unfolding in front of you. And sometimes it's a quick kick stoppage game and you need to be working in front to get that to be a couple of steps in front of your direct opponent. Other times you can feel the flow coming through the midfield and you need to take your player away to create more space to come back. The best forwards that I've kicked to are the ones that just find a way of being in your vision right when you look up to deliver the ball. And that might be a lace-up kick, or it might be a long kick to a contest where you try and find the advantage position for them.
I really think the experience, Gaz, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the experience of playing in these finals, remember first final series for Charlie Curnow, he will now understand what's it like in a pressure cooker of a final and what's it like for my midfielders and the pressure they're under, and adjust his game. So he is in better positioning and therefore in more contest to allow himself to have an impact in the game.
And your vision was so good because you go, well, how can you only be targeted once? Well, when you're trying to lead back or you're pointing back across your body to George Hewitt, I mean, there is your answer. So it's an education process. Maybe we overestimate. He's won 2 Coleman medals. He might have been doing it on the back of raw ability and not a lot of forward nous. And, you know, as you boys have spoken about, leading the leg and reading pressure. So he will get... He's a phenomenal talent, but really instructional vision there. That's why. Well, you just go in the wrong spots.
And the flip side of that is not just what you're doing as a key forward, it's the other side, which is creating a contest for the key backs.
Absolutely, connections.
Yeah, which brings me to my question, and that is, you know, beware the interceptors, or ignore the interceptors at your peril. The intercept marking game this year has just got a bit stronger and stronger in the first half of the year. All we were talking about were intercept markers. When the game was on the line, it was 7-1. To 7-1 to Carlton intercept, when the game was on the line. And the numbers have gone up in finals. Now, pressure comes up, fatigue comes up, you don't get to the... Well, guess what? You got to. And this sort of stuff here against Collingwood is you just have to compete. And the same thing against Brisbane Lions as well. It becomes an absolute non-negotiable. And I know that this will happen every now and then and you're still going to get outmarked. You can't. And the message has to be, I don't care. Whatever it takes, you need to have these contests because the intercept marking game, 41 intercept marks Collingwood have taken in 2 finals. 41. Take that on board.
Yeah.
Take that on board. Cam Rayner, I don't care, Cam, if you don't take a mark.
Yeah.
If you're playing on Jeremy Howe or you're in the vicinity of Jeremy Howe, he ain't marking
It
it.
should be a stat against the forwards' names.
It's
Intercept marks against, because that is the number one rule. It's as bad as kicking into the man on the mark for a set shot at goal. It is an absolute cardinal sin if you can't force that ball to ground.
One more. All of Collingwood's score, not all of it, the majority of Collingwood's scoring is coming from the back half. They're a back half. They kick 6 of 8 from the back half. Guess what? You're giving up intercept marks like that, you're going to get scored against Collingwood. That is why it's critical.
It's the reason why Jake Melksham was such a big miss for Melbourne, because he doesn't think about marking it. He actually just thinks about bringing it to ground and preventing an intercept marker from doing his job.
The last thing before we hear from the coaches, then we'll get Ralphie in. The mentality of a forward in a marking contest in a final has to be as desperate as a defender in the last 30 seconds of a grand final when it's just you and your teammate and it's 2 points the difference.
It's a win or draw mentality. It needs to be a win or draw mentality.
You cannot be pushed off the ball like Charlie was and others along the way, so beware the interceptors. Hey, both coaches have done an outstanding job, Michael Voss and Adam Kingsley, to get their sides to where they got to. Michael Voss resurrected the mid-season, Adam Kingsley in his first year. What's the future hold for these two coaches?
I think what's really important that we're having all these really great experiences together, and we've had a lot of these great moments where we've learned a lot about ourselves, and I've talked a lot about adapting and overcoming, and we've certainly done that. We've done that as a football club. So to see how that's transpired across the year has been, incredibly impressive to watch. Feeling the hurt and feeling like you're close and feeling like you're getting an opportunity and having that ripped away from you. There's no better experience of that.
Oh, I think we've grown a fair bit. I think, that we've put ourselves in a position where we know that we can compete with the best teams in the competition. So that should give us great confidence. But the reality is, next season it starts 0-0 again, and we're going to have a big summer of working on a few different things to improve and try and get past this prelim hump. I think we have all the tools. I think there's a capacity to potentially upgrade some areas, but I'm pretty comfortable with what we have currently. But again, as the dust settles on tonight and we move into the trade period and the recruiting area, we'll assess what the options are for us and see if we can upgrade.